Hello and welcome back to How to Connect with Humans. This is Series 3, Episode 7,
Seven.
and this is the beginning of 2021. Hello, Wayne, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So it's the new year,
Yep.
everything has changed,
Absolutely.
everything is different. Well, not quite. The background, we did a few changes and we like the feeling of a new year. And I think it brings like um, nice fresh thinking of what can we do on a white canvas. Um, to help us talk about that, we have a fantastic guest tonight.
Absolutely.
Somebody we both have a great connection with. And I think our first connection was smiles and 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 this warm feeling of feeling welcome every time we went to the three uh, principals conference in London and work welcome. But this lovely person we have here today, Julian Fraser. And just to let you know a little bit about Julian. So 2 years ago, I was helping to build a uh, better world charity, which is a charity in the UK. Julian came across the three principles, and it changed his life. So over the years, he's helped Better World become established as an international focus for sharing this understanding through helping to build the Life 2.0 conference with 1,000 annual attendees. And it's now the biggest principles event in the world. And we have been there, and it's absolutely, I've got goosebumps because when we are in the room, it's incredible and it's run the conference is run in this big stadium in a room and then in different rooms and also online. And this past year, and Julian may have something to say about that, they have to come to the decision of running it online. And that was, it was magnificent. The work that you guys did to make that happen was absolutely incredible. So Julian has experienced many personal insights along the way, clearly seeing that by stepping out of his own way, life becomes smoother, effortless, and a more joyful experience. He has changed from an angry bear with a sore head, we sometimes know what that feels like, into a person who enjoys life with a smile on his face. And we can't really tell that that's Julian. And Julian has also transformed physically. So he may want to tell us a little bit about that. Proof that a shift in our internal world and our belief system lead to sometimes profound external change. Julian is the director of the 3P UK Life 2.0 conference, a consultant at Better World, and has recently started two new projects. Julian graduated from the One Thought Institute in 2011 and has been a practitioner for several years. So, with the title of New Year, New Adventures, welcome to our series, Julian. It's so lovely to have you.
Hello, Carolina. Hello, Wayne. Thank you for having me. Thank you very, very much. Um, I guess I'll kind of get underway. I didn't realize that the bio, I kind of thought it was like just like a guide rather than it was going to be read out. And again, I apologize for my squeaky chair. But I mean, there's a lot to say about that title. When we kind of discussed what we were going to talk about tonight, I did like that title, you know, New Year, New Adventures. I guess there is lots to talk about, and I kind of wind the clock back. We're just starting 2021, and you know, like for anyone who might not be aware or who's watching this from abroad, so the UK has just entered yet I think the third lockdown, and this one is pretty comprehensive, let's put it like that. And so we're all stuck at home, you know, and in my mind, it kind of it fits perfectly with what we're going to talk about, or what I wanted to share with people anyway, was because that was when we went into this first lockdown in March last year. So as you mentioned, I have been working at the Better World charity for something like 12 to 15 years. That's probably a little bit out of date. I didn't change the years, but it's about 15 years now. And it was great. Working in a charity, trying to help people, working on projects for the the better good, for charitable aims, and being successful. The Three Principles Conference was a big part of that. Every year, as you said, Carolina, we've run this physical in-person, you have to say that these days, but in-person event, in Hendon in London, and it grew, over those 10, 12 years. I think this is the 12th year now. So it grew over that time from 120, 30 people in our, centre, as it was then in Temple Fortune, to, over 1,000 people for the last, 2-3 years, something like that. From all over the world, people from virtually every time zone, would come. And it still amazes me. I love standing in the reception area when, it's too late to kind of do any last minute changes, and just greeting people and finding out where they're from and how far they've come. And people would come from like the other side of the planet, which is mind blowing. Just to, kind of make a trip out of coming to the UK for, this event, which, I mean, as you say, it's a very special experience. And, I recommend everyone to come this year. Just a little plug for that. So, in March last year, the coronavirus had, been happening. And we entered into another lockdown. And so along with my fellow co-organisers of Shao Rosenblatt and Erin Turner, so we decided to kind of put the conference on as a virtual event. And it was due for June. We'd already sold a couple of hundred, probably maybe a little more than 200 tickets already. I think you both bought your tickets already. It was all a bit like, well, we don't know what to do, how to do it. Obviously, we weren't going to sell any more in-person conference tickets. And there wasn't really anything going on in the world kind of like, now what do we do? It was in those kind of first few months that everyone got accustomed to kind of spending their life staring at a screen and working online and using Zoom and all those types of things. But at that time, kind of trying to put on the conference in, what was it? Maybe 8 weeks, and, kind of do something that was meaningful and helpful to people in terms of sharing the three principles and that understanding. It was quite an interesting task. My initial reaction for most of these things is often, no, I can't do that. But that's kind of like, Shao and Erin, as well as myself, are now well used to adjusting for that. And so after I've kind of like settled down, I'm like, okay, now let's see where we can go with this. So as you said, we created an event online, fully virtual, and we ended up with 1,300 people signed up to come to it, which was amazing. It was the biggest event that we've done in terms of speakers, in terms of sessions, and it had the most amazing feeling to the whole thing, which shocked me as much as anyone else. I guess looking back, it's very easy to kind of say, well, of course it would. But at the time, I don't think anyone really thought that we could achieve something like that online. Certainly of an equivalency to the in-person event. And, you know, that was that. You know, it was wonderful. It was great. And out of that, I started to realize something different. I started to see something different. And I think this is where, you know, this is what I want to talk about this evening, kind of like new adventures. So I've two things, I guess. And I'm thinking as I'm going here, this isn't a pre-prepared kind of speech, you know, but I realized that where I was at with my, you know, working life was in some way, you know, limiting and unfulfilling. And there was a lot of potential to do something different, or as well as, I don't want to say move away because I didn't want to, but I didn't want to move away from what I was doing, some aspects of what I was doing, but I felt like there was room for me to do something different. Let's say it like that. There was room for me to do something different. And I felt that, and I look back on kind of where I was at, because obviously, you know, we were still in lockdown come June, beginning of June. And I'd come to the realization and come to the understanding that there was a great opportunity here for me to do something different. Like, in a way, I felt like I couldn't go any further in certain aspects of what I was doing, in certain parts of that role, parts of that job. And so I didn't know what else that meant at that stage. I didn't have some grandiose idea to go and do something different. But I realized that I wanted to create more space to change. And so I guess I'm going to say it in a kind of like, here's what happened, and then kind of like switch back to kind of like what I saw and kind of what was running on in the background. But so I sat with Shal and I sort of, you know, kind of explained to him that I didn't want to carry on in the way that I had up until then, and I wanted to change some things around and create more space. And he was very happy and very welcoming. One of the things that I wanted to carry on with was the confidence and kind of keep that growing. But I also wanted, and I recognized that I didn't want to do certain of the other things that I was still doing. And I think I recognized that I didn't have to do that anymore. In other words, so my as you kind of said in my bio, like I was always this kind of bear with the sore head. I was a very much like I think it's what people call type A, but I don't know exactly. So I'm going to say it's type A, and just we can all go along with that. So I was this type A personality where I was very, you know, kind of detailed and, you know, kind of on top of everything. That's how my upbringing was. And it was very different from the understanding that I have now, or that I grew to learn from an appreciation and understanding of the principles. That being that, you know, a broader view and kind of just following a good feeling and kind of listening to, you know, the more wise voices, let's call it, in my head was actually a more I don't want to say was just the right way to live. Let's put it like that. Okay. And so I could see that there were certain things that I felt limited by, that I felt like I had some restrictions with, and that I wanted to change. And so when I looked at that, I saw that there was plenty of opportunity. It was kind of like, now I've created, or I can see that I can create that space. I could see that there was you know, there was certainly something that I could do with that, and that looked to me like, well, first and foremost, you know, there were two things. One of which was taking what I had learned over creating the conference, online and doing that whole as a digital thing, and turning that into I don't want to say turning it into a business, because that's not what this was about. It was really, I've learned some information. I've learned how to do something which I think is going to be of value and helpful to other people looking to do the same thing. You know, I know my skill set is I'm quite technically minded, quite technically capable. I see how things work. I like learning new things. So kind of part of the conference experience, building that virtual event, was kind of looking at all of the production elements, the website, the video conferencing, putting that all together and bringing that all together in a way that was I guess, you know, a good experience for the end user. And so I could see that was something that was going to be of value to people, because I kind of thought, well, it's been not so, again, I'm just telling you how I see it. It wasn't such an easy thing for me to do. And if it isn't so easy for me, then I can see that there's going to be plenty of people out there who are going to need help and support with that. And so out of that realization, insight, whatever you want to call it, just kind of like feeling, I think, more importantly, I spoke to and sat with Ben, my event manager at the Three Principles Conference for the last 5 years or so, a good friend of mine. And I said, look, I think we can offer this to other people. So we started working on it, you know, and we started building from there. And it was very clear that this now had a different energy. It had a different feeling that was, you know, kind of moving in the right direction. The other thing that I started with, equally the same, I guess, potential, and is still, you know, kind of moving in that direction, was another idea with Claire Shoots. So one of the things that I have, you know, been I've experienced in my own life, and I guess this is a theme. It's kind of like, this is just how it works for me. So for those people that don't know, like my eldest daughter, I have 5 children. So my eldest daughter, she's 17. So she has cerebral palsy. She's quite severely affected by cerebral palsy. She's in a wheelchair. She has waking care. She can't speak. I have got a son with autism and ADHD, and so just in, you know, our community, I come across a large number of parents of children, you know, who are struggling with, who are struggling with their children who are disabled. And when I look at that from, you know, my understanding of the principles and how I've grown from that perspective, I feel like there's a lot of help that can be given to people to just live life in a more with more balance and more good feeling and well-being. Let's put it like that. So it's something that I've tried to, I've thought about for many years. And I was speaking with my good friend Claire Shoots about it. That's my children now. We're in lockdown. Can you hear them? They're calling in the house. So I've been talking about it with Claire Shoots, and we both felt like, let's create something to help parents. Let's create something to help parents whose children have, you know, who have children with disabilities. Let's call it like that. And so we started from there, again, with this, I guess, I want to say kind of good feeling, but then I don't want to kind of give it too much form also, that it's like, I've got to feel this energy. It's like, it's more that I could see that there was a potential here. I could feel that there was a potential, that it had more freedom. It just felt like there's something that I can create here in this space that can be of help and of benefit to people. And so, we've created a non-profit, and we are working towards, creating an online portal and being of service to people, as best we can. And we're taking it from there. So I guess that's the kind of the kind of the overview of kind of what happened. And I guess the message I just wanted to share with people was really about seeing that you have more capability than you previously had. It's quite interesting because when I look back now from this position in time, in the experience, let's say, so I can see that good friends of mine have said to me previously, like, you know, where you are at, let's say work-wise, is quite limiting. They could see, Julian, you have this potential and you're not fulfilling that potential in what you're doing. And I always felt like, okay, fine, but I didn't feel it. I didn't see it. It wasn't visible. And I don't actually think that was true. Like, I at the time, it didn't feel like it was true. I'm not sure even if at that point it wasn't the right time, or it wasn't ready, or whatever, but it was just, I felt like it was the right thing to do. And at some point, like I said, last year, lockdown happened, this, the conference, all of that experience just raised some questions in my mind, points in my mind, which allowed me to see life differently. New thinking and a new feeling emerged from that space that helped me see that there was a new potential. And I think that's, kind of what I would ask people to look at, I guess, in their own lives, because very often people do feel limited, they do feel restricted, they don't know where to go, how to be, or what to do, and they are limited by their own experience. They are limited by their own feelings. It's interesting, we were speaking before everyone came in just about the lockdown and how I'm going to say it slightly differently now, but I can see there's a lot of people struggling with the idea and the concept of being locked up, the word lock up, lock down, again, it kind of makes it feel very restricting. It's like the words themselves, the form of it, feels like it's very, I'm limited, right? But it's words, it's a form, it's not reality or real reality, whatever you want to call it. That's just the way that we are seeing it. When last week, a week and a half ago now, kind of there was going to be a lockdown over Christmas, there wasn't, and then as soon as there wasn't, people kind of struggled, massively. I'm blessed to say that I have learned, I have seen that it's not even just being able to adapt, it's just seeing that when you struggle with reality, that's a result of your own thinking about it and a particular perspective in time. And that thinking, the ability to think again, and the ability to see again, and the ability to kind of entertain fresh thought and see new possibilities is available to everyone at all times. And I say that, kind of, that was me too, like 15 years ago, as I said, as I said, like certainly around the birth of my daughter, it's quite interesting. I've been thinking about that today, but like 15 years ago, 17 years ago now, but like I was also restricted by my own thinking about that and the future and what's going to be, and why isn't life turning out the way that I want it to be? Why isn't life matching my expectations? And being able to see that was just a perspective on life that was limiting my opportunities was a real blessing. And so being able to think again and see that again has changed my life. And I guess that was this, I could even maybe at a push say that was the start of this, like, had I not been able to see new possibilities and new options, come March of last year, like I said at the beginning, my original perspective was, no, we can't do that, right? No, because this is how I want it to be, right? But as I settle down now, I see new possibilities. Okay, well, yeah, we can try that and see what goes. We can try this out. And again, just kind of being open, you don't know where it's going to go. So it's a real blessing to be able to do that. And from that, that's when magic happens and life changes and possibilities become realities, and so our new virtual event management kind of project has become a business and is we've produced many events and it's really happening. And again, it still has that energy. One of the things that I wanted to do with that was having this kind of like freedom to create and freedom to kind of explore and freedom to just try new things and not be restricted by my own thinking about it, my own feelings about it. And I'm pleased to say that that's happened with both these things, both these projects. Look, I think that's a good place to stop. I don't know how the podcast normally works, but I'm feeling like that's a good place to kind of like open it up for more conversation. What do you think?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I love everything you've said. It's incredible. And for people that don't know, I've worked closely with Julian over the last 3 or 4 weeks within the 3P conference, and I've seen more recently exactly what you've just described. There's times where things have been said to you with, say, one of the websites, and you were kind of like, well, no, we could do it this way. And then kind of working out, is it better, is it not? And what I saw, the way you just kind of dealt with that was incredible. And it for me is just so powerful. I remember when I worked with you, I think a week and a half ago on an event, you said to me, you were like, normally I'd be like in my head and everything like that. And for me, you weren't. You were really calm and everything.
It's quite funny when I like that thing in my bio about like being a bear with a sore head. Yeah. Like I don't know when you first came to the conference, but I think it was like the second or third conference. So I came on the main stage as like kind of one of these. I was the panel telling their story, because that was my life was angry Julian. Like that's what I was, very kind of like details. Things have to go my way, and if they're not going to go my way, then it used to be very much my way or the highway, and it was painful and also incredibly limiting. And that was my first big insight change through the principles, that I realized that I don't have all the answers, and that even if I did, maybe there's better ways of doing things, putting even aside the fact that life isn't enjoyable like that either. It's not much fun being stressed and angry, but that really was what I was like Shao always tells people, that was the biggest change, because I used to live at a very different level of tension, feeling, just happiness with the world. I was not happy for many years. I was very stressed. I was very stressed. And seeing a new possibility with that was was massively liberating, massively. So
what I love about the two things you are saying, and because it's so close to our heart as well, Wayne for me has been one of my most important teachers in my life. And for the people who are saying this for the first time, Wayne has cerebral palsy. But when I met him, I sort of didn't see his cerebral palsy. I just saw Wayne. And he came through the door and was like, oh my God, I love him. I didn't know how I love him or what was it going to be, but there was this sense of connection. And we sat down and we started talking. And as we were talking, I was saying, oh, so I see. So because what seems in your body it is a disability for you to walk around, and so because you can see that in your body, you can't see what I perceive as a disability. You can't see what I perceive as, well, no, I can't do that because I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, or I don't deserve to be loved enough for that reason, or all the reasons you're going to tell yourself that they look very concrete physically, or that he wasn't worth of choosing, or that's what he felt, choosing who he could be with. It was a feeling of like, well, he just had to wait and be chosen and take that. Yeah. And it made me really curious why was that like that, and then realized that in a way I felt the same, and I had in a way other reasons probably to pin it on than some disability. So what I love is this idea that in a time where we feel that things have been disabled for us, like being a social environment with other people, or having to stay at home, our jobs, where things look disabled, what is there that is available?
Yeah.
That is able, that is abling. And that's what I hear you saying, like when you see beyond that, yeah. When you see that flow of energy that is behind everything, when you're not limited about your disabling thinking, which is that what we all really have at the end. So should we open it up to see if anybody has a question? Would you like to do that? Mm-hmm. Or you can share something. Please feel free.
Okay, so you can unmute yourselves now whenever you feel like it.
Okay, I'll be 30 seconds. Sorry, Caroline. Hi, can I say something, Caroline? Sorry.
Absolutely. Sorry.
Hi, Julian. Lovely to
Hi,
see you.
Sabia. Good to see you.
I just wanted to say I'm busy with my daughter, sorry, so I wasn't able to catch the full conversation. But I loved the fact when you talked about that. What I heard was that you can have a fresh thought any moment. We don't have to be limited by this so-called lockdown, It's and I can't even remember what I saw really. I was in the kitchen, but it's just stayed with me. So I just wanted to say, I loved it's just hearing, oh my gosh, it's all, you know, every moment is a new moment, you know. And in a way, I thought, oh my gosh, that's what I've experienced today. Yesterday, I was like, oh my gosh, homeschooling for 3 children, blah, 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 this, that, you know. And he was like, I need 3 iPads. I've only got 2. And I was like, you know.
Yeah.
And then this morning, on some level, I had a fresh thought in the morning, you know, lying in bed. And I can't even say when it happened, but it happened at some point in the early hours of the morning. And something in me decided, I'm just going to do my best. Doesn't matter if I can't do 7 subjects with each child. I'm just going to do what I can. And that was it. And then I just carried on with the day. And I've done exactly the same, or slightly less than yesterday, but it was just a whole different experience. I wasn't an ogre around the family. It was nice.
Perfect. That's exactly it. That's exactly what we're talking about. You know, yeah. So you didn't miss anything, Sabia. You caught the essence of it, and you know, kind of demonstrated it perfectly. That's exactly what I was trying to point to. Like, it's the same this lockdown as the last lockdown, and I know everyone's getting exhausted in theory, or you know, it feels like in practice, but you know, everyone is getting exhausted by it. When's it going to end? You know, how long is this going to go on for? But that's the point. It's all about how we see it. You know, like if you feel restricted and hopeless by, like you say, the experience, and I know it, you know, here's a list of all the things that you have to now do for your children, and if you don't, you know, the feeling is you're not meeting the expectations of X, Y, Z, or the school or yourself. You're letting everyone down. Again, it's all a creation of the mind. You know, that there is a fresh experience available to us every moment, and you know, you manage to see enough of a gap in life to kind of get a new feeling, follow a new thought, and have that experience. Like, I'll do my best, and your best is not just okay, not just it's just showing up in life and doing what makes sense to you. You know, it's like it's perfect.
Yeah, and I did about 5-6 subjects with each one of them. It was really nice. Thank you. Now it's bedtime, so I'm just going to be listening in the background.
Okay. So, enjoy.
Bed, Sophie.
Thank you, Sylvia. Oh, we love you. Yeah, I agree with Sylvia. Yeah.
I was curious about the designer. How did these online help tools, Julian? How could you give an example how it works?
What do you mean specifically? Well, like in more detail?
Yeah, a bit more detail about it.
Just help me though. When you say online, like, what do you mean? Like the process, or just kind of what happened?
What is it you're offering, seen from the recipient?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess, look, I mean, in fact, what we are offering is like a management service for producing virtual events. So doing anything like a conference. So we've done, I don't know, 4 or 5 conferences since June, you know. So we produce and put on a conference in the same way that we did the 3P conference, using different tools, you know, than we did for the one in June. You know, but our kind of, I guess, our role is really to help people, and I want to say this in the right way, I'm thinking of it, but again, you can hear I'm not a polished salesperson by any means, but it's like people have an idea of an event they want to create. So they might have a conference, they might have a retirement party, they might have a, education that they want to get put over to people, whatever it is. There's lots of different things that people want to want to kind of give over and offer to people, and doing that is sometimes outside of, and well, for the people that we're seeing, it's outside of their skill set or their remit, or it just feels a bit too complicated. And so we come in and help people realize their ideas, realize what they want to create, and in other words, bring it to life. And it's funny because the first few weeks of lockdown, after the conference, one of the other things that I did was, just I kind of looked at the platform that the conference had used and felt like, well, that's a bit out of the budget of most people. There's a backstory to this in that we ended up getting it in like a very small window for a bargain price, okay, which we couldn't have afforded, and would have upped that price of everyone's ticket by, potentially, £100 had we not got it in that window. But that's, the wisdom of the universe kind of helping us out. So I looked at that and I was like, wow, how would anyone without that window kind of produce an event, a small event for people? It's just impossible. So I set about creating, again, just playing around, following this good feeling, let's call it that, following this good feeling of creating a platform, like a website platform that could help people put on, these types of events in this type of way. And so we've ended up kind of using that from just playing around with it, just experimenting with an online kind of, world building platform. And, I created like a conference template, as it were, but not at that point, not thinking I can do anything with it, but just, more than anything, just experimenting and just seeing if it was possible, challenging myself to it. And it came about. So we will meet with people. We'll have a client or a potential client, and I'm just going to keep talking over her, but they're ferreting for food. We'll kind of talk to them about what they want to create, and we will then come back with a proposal, idea. I'm always looking at like new software online and new platforms and new things that might be helpful to people, because again, I'm looking at it from, I guess that I like to think this anyway, being of service to people and helping people rather than making money and running a business. Rightly or wrongly, that I feel is not just the right thing to do, but it's actually successful. It serves people. Yeah. People like that, unsurprisingly. So that's what we do. I hope that answered your question.
Oh yeah. It's just about 10 years ago or something like that, I worked in the IT business and we had some software called Interwise, which was from Israel, which was so expensive. So it was basically like Zoom,
right?
Kind of in the beginning. So that was a great step forward. Having a stable connection and stuff, that was really that was new at the time. And so for a period, I had this job also making different, building kind of like if a school wanted an internal system for communication and teaching and stuff, so I had a bit of just some experiences with that for years back.
Yeah.
And I just thought, because of that today I would certainly link it up on some kind on mobile devices. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I guess you thought that too.
I mean, all of these things are, there are lots of different considerations with it, what everyone is trying to do. I mean, look, I guess the point here today, and just maybe to kind of just circle it back to kind of like the subject, is like that we're all subject to our own experience in the moment, our own thinking in the moment, and the only thing getting in the way of that is you and your relationship to your thinking.
Yeah.
And anything is really possible. And as Caroline was saying, like, we limit ourselves, and just because lockdown's here, just because I've always done the same job that I've always done, like there's whatever it is, just because I'm in this situation and I feel, and it looks like I can't, do anything about it. That is a limiting self-belief, a limiting thought that is getting in the way of what we can, of our real potential. And over the last 6 months and now going into this new lockdown, it's like there's a real potential here. People have more time, more ability. Yes, we have to, we've got certain responsibilities as always, but that potential is always there. And think again, look for something new, try something different. Look for that potential. Just explore and enjoy, I think, is the main thing.
This is in fact a product of the lockdown. We got together with Wayne, we want to do something, and suddenly we found that we had the time to do it. We have the space, and we thought, well, we'll do something, even if it's just a talk with Jan and Chipman, and and we start something going. And so that's how To Connect with Humans started, and then it decided it was going to be a series,
Yeah.
And so yeah, and we, in my own experience, this time, the first month I was like, I was surprised that I was in a nice feeling on the first one, going like, we're gonna be okay, and look, there's just things to do, we can create things. And by the end of this year, the exhaustion you were talking about, Julian, which I love, this is like, it was like, oh, I'm now exhausted of this. Sort of like looking at everything in sort of a positive side. I'm exhausted. I want now, that's it. I run out of understanding, which is not possible. But that's what my relationship to thinking started being. Well, Wayne was.
I was really calm
Yeah.
on the first one. On the first one, I was the opposite to you. I was kind of freaking out on the first one, going, oh, I'm not going to be able to survive and all this. And then the last two, I've been like, oh, it'll be fine, whatever.
It's all fine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when did we switch? But yeah. So
Has someone's raised their hand, Susie?
Yeah.
Yeah, Susie.
Sorry, I thought you.
Oh, that's okay. No, don't worry. No, it was just hello, hi.
Hi.
It was just more of an observation, really. Listening to you talking, it was just a really good reminder about sort of creativity and creating things. It's really about being really okay about not knowing, isn't it? In the moment of just not being okay with not knowing how you're going to manage something or how it's going to work out, and being okay if you're not seeing it, and just trusting that you will see it when you need to, and you'll have the answers. You know, and if you still don't think you have the answers, or if you have to make a big decision, well, then you'll know enough to make a reasonable decision, you know, and then it'll go off on another way. Or I don't know. I've missed that energy a bit recently, and it's really lovely hearing it again.
It's lovely hearing it from you as well, I have to say. No, but that's exactly it. Exactly it. And sometimes it emerges into something and creates and you know, establishes itself, and sometimes it doesn't, and that's fine as well. Like, that's part of the process, you know.
Yeah, but it is play, right? It is playing, isn't it? And just being open to whatever comes up, and if nothing comes up, well, that's okay too, you know. Just, it will at some point, you know.
Yeah, like this idea with Claire about that I'd said about starting this kind of like this non-profit, you know, to help parents of disabled children. So I've been talking about it for 3 years, like, and it comes in waves, and now it's finally kind of emerging into something. But now is its time, you know. Now it feels more, I don't know how to say it, but more right to kind of, and more, you know, it's establishing itself and growing and taking hold and taking root now, even though it's something that I was talking about 3 years ago, and could see that there was potential for it. I just didn't have a vision of, or an idea or a feeling about creating with that.
Yeah.
And again, like it may come to something, it may establish more, it may not, we'll see. I don't know. There is no, you know, kind of 10-year plan, 5-year plan, you know, for either of these things. Like, again, if the lockdown finishes and we all, who knows where we'll go back, who knows what the world will look like next week, let alone in 3 months' time.
Yeah, but it is trusting that yeah, you'll be directed one way. I mean, even down to you know, lockdown and having to do kids' lunches, you know. I mean, something like that. Just I just got completely overwhelmed by it. I was like, oh God, just the monotony of the supposed monotony of having to do that again every day. You know, obviously juggling with work and just like the lunch. I've just got into that, and you need that. You need access to that creativity to bring just making lunch alive again.
Right.
You know, just to get that inspiration for a few other ideas, and so it can be fun and creative again. And instead of just thinking, no, I've just run out of ideas, I can't, you know, everyone's got so good, you know. But actually in the next moment, yeah, you can, if you're just open to it, you're like, okay, well, let's see what will happen. And something comes up, it does. Something comes up. Unless you're thinking, oh God, I can't bear this anymore. In which case it won't.
Right.
But it's really, yeah. I love how that creative energy applies to every moment, whatever you're doing, isn't it? If you come from that space, then yeah, every moment can create something.
Yeah. It's the energy that creates something rather than the other way around. You know, we look into the you know, well, if I, you know, like, let's say, you know, with these two ideas, right, well, I'm going to create something over here, you know, but it's actually coming from the energy that the creativity kind of flows from, I guess, more than, you know, it's we think about it the other way around. Well, I'll create something with this, you know, but it's actually the other way around. It's a freedom to kind of think, you know.
Yeah, how to,
it's kind of like where, yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's about how you're experiencing whatever you're creating,
as
opposed to the creation itself. Yeah.
So just saying it to you made me realize, like, that's why my initial reaction, as you know, shall continue to remind me, my first reaction is always no, you know, and then once I settle and I get more creative, you know, I get that feeling of creativity. It's like, okay, well, now where can we go with that? But it's coming from that feeling rather than the initial idea of, okay, let's create, let's do a virtual event, you know?
Yeah.
So even my first reaction to everything, and my kids will tell you the same, is no, right? But it's like, okay, now, it's the same thing with the sandwiches. No, like the same as yesterday, tough, but it's like, okay, now, well, what's, what new possibilities are there now that you've got over yourself? I'm talking to myself, not to you.
Yeah. No. Well, it's the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that I'm over myself, kind of where does it, what's possible, Well, and then I start just following my nose, following that feeling, what makes sense, common sense, just, following that energy and seeing where it ends up. And that's how I ended up creating this whole template of just for the sake of it, which has, kind of been very helpful for, three or four other conferences, and it's the same energy that I've actually kind of got on the go on something else. Someone else come up and said, well, how can we do this? And I'm like, forget it, not possible. And then it's like, okay, now what? Well, how would we do that? Oh, okay, let's try it like this.
It's like saying no sort of puts the brakes on, so then
Yeah.
you've got space. You've then got your space to have time to think about it.
Yeah. I never used to do that. I always used to say no, and that was it. It was the end of the story.
And do you find you've got less controlling?
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I have. I know I have. And yeah, definitely, I'm more trusting as well. I mean, I feel like it's one of those things that's a work in progress, and it kind of varies with, in the same way as feelings do generally. It's like, sometimes I can be, super controlling, and sometimes be not, just like, okay, let's see what happens. But it's not when I say a work in progress, also don't mean it's something that I work on, because I don't work on that, but I just see more and more every day, that there is more success and good feeling, and the right things happen when I do let go more and trust and give, and become less controlling as a result of all those things.
That is nice to hear that you still fall into that from time to time. No, I definitely, it's one of my old things, and I definitely fall into that controlling things. It catches me. Yeah. So, but as you say, what can you do? Yeah.
Well, you just,
as long as you're moving in the right
it's one of those things. It's just, it's like lockdown. It's like we have to stay in. So you just adjust and you move on.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. That was great.
Thank you.
What I love from hearing that, and really make me think about my own expectations, and like if we come in and we say, well, I created this new project, this new company, so that seems like we are moving forward, at least for me. Now, completely understanding like what Susie is saying from such what seems so little, like how to go around making now time or lunches in a way that doesn't feel that I can cope with life anymore. So if Susie have come into this episode saying, I have now created a new way of making sandwiches, or the kids go and make sandwiches on their own, is free Wednesday, go into the fridge, find your lunch, whatever. It may not be perceived, or if we have put that as our new project, may have not been perceived as such an achievement. But thinking about it, if that's the point where we feel that we can't cope with life, if that's the thing that we can achieve to make life better, be at service for ourselves and for others, That's the most important project we can bring to life.
I'm not going to believe that my main mission in life is making lunches for the kids. Nope. But I hear it is actually a really beautiful thing you're saying. It is a really beautiful thing. I will just swallow that and reflect on it.
But I think it's the broader point, isn't it, of parenting, you know, kind of rather than the specific form of, you know, sandwich making, you know.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, that's relationships in a nutshell, isn't it? It's lovely.
I guess it's not what you do, but how you do it.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm in Denmark. I'm not in the UK, so for me, we have some lockdowns, I guess, but not as severely as over in your country. And so I'm sending lots of love to you.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah. Well, it's no, you know, I kind of feel like it's I said the third one, but it all feels kind of much the same. I have to say the feeling is kind of the feeling rather than what you can do, what you can't do. Again, it's kind of when you get into the form, you know, you kind of lose yourself in all of that, and you know, it's kind of, I mean, there's lots of cliches, you know, freedom is a state of mind and all of those types of things, but it's like, okay, what next? You know, let's see what happens next. You know, what can we do? What can we create? What can, you know, where can we help and, you know, and be of service and give to others and love and, you know, connect, you know, it's like, that's the real opportunity here, you know.
I think all the big inventions, you know, and the Renaissance and everything was after the plague. You know, it's so there's creativity going up. I feel creativity, music, drawing, you know, it's really been a wonderful year in that respect. Fantastic year. You know, when has that ever happened before that you could do some? Really be creative and without having to, you know, push it to some other time, but you suddenly you've got the time to do things more thoroughly or enjoyably or so
exactly.
I don't see the problem.
Or getting married.
Yeah, that's really funny. Yeah, we got married and
Congratulations.
and it was really interesting because it just we managed to do it right at the right moment and everything was so it was a truly blissful event. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I have to go, but thank you, Julian, and
Thank you, Chris.
Yates.
I have to go too, I think.
Yeah, I think, well,
Yeah.
you've been incredibly nice and giving with your time. Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, Julian. And something, I don't know, propelled Wayne and I to at some point start sending messages to Julian. We want to help. We want to help. We want to help. So I think it was the right time and moment. And
Thank you.
so thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Count on us for anything that you may think of. Susie, we can, I don't know, give you recipes for sandwiches, or we'll ask people to volunteer, you know, on the thread, so keep an eye.
No.
Lunches.
It was just an example. It's okay. It's not my biggest problem. It's fine. It's right. It's not a problem at all. In fact, it's just the approach applies to everything in life.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. But I'm very grateful. It's very lovely to hear you, Julian, and everyone.
Thank you for sharing, Susie and Savia. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. So we'll see you next week. Next week we're having Chris. No, not Chris. Alfie. Sorry.
Chambers, yeah.
Alfie Chambers. And we're going to have a conversation about him having a new life after spending some time in prison, and then finding this understanding and what's happened after that. So what he's seeing now, what's come to life for him.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a fantastic episode, we're sure. And so thank you again to everybody, and thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
I love you so much.
You too.
And we'll see you next week. And thank you for being here.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.